Hello, everybody, and welcome back to One Mic, One Wheel once again, the show where we talk all things sim racing. I hope you guys enjoyed the last episode with PXM Twisted, a very interesting story that he told as well. Now, I will apologise for my voice, I have got a cold, so I might sound a little bit deeper, but today I have a man that is pretty well known to all of us in the esports community and in the commentating scene as well. When you think of esports commentators, I think this is the man you'll think of. I am, of course, talking about King-Kodiak. Kodiak, you're very, very welcome to the show.
You're far too kind, sir. But yeah, it's a great pleasure to be on your show. It's certainly gaining traction, for the want of a pun.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, very glad to be interviewed by your good self. Thank you kindly for inviting me along.
No problem at all. So let's start at the beginning. What started all of this? What kickstarted all the love for motorsport?
Love of motorsport. Oh Christ. Way back when Formula One gripped me. Well, it didn't really grip me really, intensely until probably 96, probably, I would think. That was when I started to really get into it. I had a kind of mild curiosity about it way before then, back in the sort of Senna Prost era, late 80s, early 90s. I can sort of vaguely remember seeing compilation videos of crashes as where it sort of began, and then actually started to watch them racing. It just kind of grew from there. And yeah, went from strength to strength. I still am a McLaren fan. It's difficult to admit these days, although judging by not wanting to give any spoilers away that hasn't seen at the time of recording today's Australian qualifying, it's McLaren looking a bit stronger than they have been for the last few years. But yeah, that's where the love of motorsport really began. Crash videos and moved on from there.
Interesting. So how did the commentary side kick into gear? What was the first league you got the opportunity in?
Well, there's a bit of a precursor to that. Commentating was not something I'd ever considered until I tried it. It wasn't an aspiration of mine. I'd never even kind of considered the option of doing it. Before I did commentary, I had my own radio show on the local radio station about Formula One for about 2 and a bit years, I think I did that for. And I managed to interview Jensen Button through that, which was rather awesome. Very, very nice guy. Could have spoken to him for ages. I'm sure he was glad that we couldn't. But yeah, even when doing that, I mean, that came to an end. Oh, Christ, I've got to think. I've been commentating for 3 years now. So early 2016, that came to an end. Probably before that year's Formula One season began. And then I started just doing YouTube videos about Project Cars. Then started making nuisance of myself on the SMS forums. That is where I saw a post from an Apex Online Racing coordinator talking about a upcoming league for Project Cars 2 using the Formula Renault 3.5, and that was just where the thought of, ooh, might be fun. Let's give it a try. And I was very, very warmly received, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, so it kind of went from there. So you've been at it, well, 2016 is when you said it's kind of the radio ended, so you've been at it about 2 years. So you've come a long way in a short space of time. Namely, would I imagine that the peak of your career so far might actually be getting the opportunity to commentate F1 Esports. How was that experience for you?
Incredible. Yeah, having done the F1 Esports qualifiers for both seasons, that was really showcasing what the truly best of the best can do. And I was very lucky to be commentating for some of the for all of the qualifying rounds for all three platforms, PS4, Xbox One, PC. Yeah, that was just amazing. But by that point, I kind of really got my own kind of style and methodology down. So it was very much. I don't want to say this very casually. It was just another commentary. I don't want to play down the significance of it. But as far as what I was physically doing, it was a slightly different setup. as in how we were getting the race coverage to us. It was live, but we weren't in the lobby. So it was a bit. First season we were, second season we weren't, and that was a long and convoluted technical process that went through. But it just meant that the quality of the stream just kept improving. The more we did. Yeah, it was absolutely, yeah. As I say, it was an absolutely incredible um, opportunity to do. I was very happy to do it, and I hope that I get to do it again. That decision's not mine, but yeah, we will see. But yeah, that was an awesome opportunity to have, and to commentate alongside Justin as well, who in it has been one of the best commentators I've worked with. He's much more experienced than I. And when you listen to us back to back, there's certain times when it shows, and maybe it only shows to me, but I'm horrifically my own worst critic. Yeah, I'm not one of these people that will jump on top of the soapbox and say, "Look at me! I am God! I am the greatest." Not my style. Never have been. So I'm very much feet on the ground. Okay, what can I improve? Even 3 years on, I'm still looking at where I can do better. Not one of these people that thinks, "Oh, that's it. I've made it. I now can commentate anything and everything." I will commentate anything and everything I get the opportunity to, within reason. But I'm always looking to kind of, as I just steadily improve, keep my feet on the ground, see where it takes me. Basically, it's as much. This is definitely the career I want to have, but I'm realistic enough to not kind of put everything, to throw everything into the same basket, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, how do you combine all of this commentary with your everyday life? It must. Does it challenge the family a little bit? Have you ever been told off for being too loud?
Oh yes, many many times I've been told off for being too loud. Um, I've woken my children up repeatedly. One thing I cannot do is commentate quietly. It's something that I've had to tell junior commentators. If you have to keep the volume down, you've lost. You've had it, because you just can't get the energy you need to behind you to do it properly. And if you've got to, yeah, it's and they're making a great move into turn one. You've had it. You're trying to keep the volume down. So um, yeah, I've woken my children up. I've woken my wife up. I once left the window open and I made a great big nuisance around the close. So, but yes, it. These days, I kind of keep a bit of a cap on how many commentaries a week I do, because I've pushed it too far in the past. The worst, I say worst, the most busiest stretch of commentaries I had 8 commentary stints in 5 days. That was I was so knackered by the end of it, and that was actually during the F1 Esports qualifiers, which is why I couldn't condense them down.
And what, in your opinion, is the most challenging thing about doing commentary?
That's rather situational specific. It's difficult when, particularly like an endurance race, for instance, when the whole field is just spread out, no one is challenging anybody. That's difficult, especially if you're on your own.
Mm.
Now, I've been in that situation many times, so I've got my own kind of methodologies, and any commentator will have, how to put this into effect, like a stock of things to say, a list of things to talk about, some facts or things about the track or the drivers or teams or whatever. But there comes a point where we run out of them.
Mm.
It has happened once or twice. Fortunately for me, not many, but it has happened. It was like, okay, I'm really struggling to know what to talk about now. Kind of earlier in my career where that happened. It hasn't happened for a long time, but yeah, it's difficult when you have to find the things to look for, because after a while, there's only so many things you can. There's only so many times you can say, "Okay, here we come again into turn one." There's still nobody nearby. But that's part of the job. I mean, it balances out with times when there's so much going on you can't keep up with it all. You take the rough with the smooth now. So but for me, it's yeah, endurance racing when the whole field is spread out, no one's near anyone. That's one of the hardest situations for me.
Mm. And out of all the series you've done, what's your favorite series to do?
Oh, I would say the Formula One 2018 series for Apex Online Racing is the favourite. But I love commentating. I've said this numerous times. I'd commentate on milk float racing if I could. I'll commentate on anything I can find. But for now, the absolute favourite has definitely been, just for quality of racing, if nothing else, has been that particularly just. The racing has been consistently really close, really, for the most part, really clean. It's just been absolutely incredible. But there's so many other series that I've had great moments in. But if I were to pick one, it would definitely be that one.
Okay. And you've obviously got this very unique style, I would say, of commentary. So where did all these signature quotes originate from?
You say I have a unique style. It's kind of difficult for me to comment on that. I just do what comes naturally. I am just me at the end of the day. Where did the signature phrases and whatnot come from? Well, my good after morning, ladies and gentlemen line I open my streams with, like a lot of things in life, that one was nicked. I stole that one from an old colleague I used to work with. I heard him say, he went to say good afternoon on the phone, looked at the clock, realised what the time was, and changed what he said to good after morning. So I nicked that. The mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers and sisters line, that one wasn't nicked. I came up with that when I was doing my radio show. That was part of the intro sequence in that. So, other than that, wind them up and let them go. That one was nicked from a friend of mine. That's what I tend to say just before the lights go out. I can't think of any others that tend to be associated with me. The use of the Cannonball Run, I've had to park that one, unfortunately, but that was just a song that I really loved using. A lot of people associate that song to me, which is quite nice in a way, but yeah, that one obviously isn't mine. No, I think that's all of them, unless there's any more that spring to your mind that I can't think of. It's kind of difficult for me because they're all normal.
True.
They're all just part of what I do. So I don't know what is specifically, except for those ones, that are associated to me.
And have you managed to meet any of the guys you commentate on or guys you work with in AOR in real life?
I have had the great fortune of meeting several of the esports drivers. I was at Silverstone last year when the Pro Draft went there. Had the week at Silverstone for training and what have you. And during the race weekend, I got to meet quite a few people. I got to meet and several AOR guys. So Dan Hawkins, I got to meet Canute Martinson. I met Tino Nakarinen. I met Jan Fehler. Trying to think of all the ones. I met some people and I've forgotten the name of some of them. So because I met more people than I commented on. I met Christoph Holstein. I commented on him in several different leagues for AOR. I also met Martin Stefanko, who I commentate on but not for AOR. I briefly met. I've met the Salton brothers, not at Silverstone. That was at a different event. I met them. Briefly saw TRL Limitless at Silverstone, but didn't kind of meet him as such. Met Brendan Lee as well. That's all the ones I can immediately think of. Jem Bulabassi. He was actually the first one I met. Tim Marduk. I got to meet Ben. That was awesome. He's such a nice bloke. He's such a great guy. Crikey. Anyone else? There's probably someone really glaring and obvious, and I'll be shouted at later for it. But that's all the ones that spring to mind. Marcel Kiefer. That's another one. I knew there was another one I was going to mention. Met him at not at Silverstone. That was at a kind of an exhibition event. There was a behind closed doors exhibition event that I got to commentate with Matthew Gallagher, no less.
What was that like?
That was amazing. Now, again, anyone that's been following Formula One in the esports sense and in its real world sense will know who Matt Gallagher is. I was like, oh my God, I'm in the presence of him. He works in the field in which I wish to be. Now, for me, that was a big moment. I got to meet Tom Deacon as well, who is a show host for a lot of the Gfinity stuff. And for me, that was like, I am walking amongst royalty. to them, it's just like every day. Of course, it's every day. And I actually brought up that point to both of them. We walked out of the venue. We were off to grab a coffee, and I actually mentioned, to me, I am a man amongst gods. And they both laughed and said, "What are you talking about?" When we actually know. And I said, "Well, you say that, but to a mere pleb like me, you've dealt with the very people within the industry in which I wish to be. So it's okay. Great, you may not be known to every Formula One fan out there, but again, to me, it's a pretty big deal." I've also met, it's not an esports thing per se, but I've also met one of my commentary heroes. I got to meet him at McLaren last month when the McLaren Shadow finals are going on, about 2 months ago now. That was Alex Golden Boy Mendez. That was a very big thing for me. He was one of the people that inspired me to try commentary, not in a derogatory sense, not, oh, I can do better than you. It's not a case of I knew the guy beforehand, but it was a case of I recognized a number of things that worked for my personality and in how he did things. I was like, I'll give this a try. And so actually getting to meet him was a really big deal for me. So yeah, I've met quite a few people. Many more to go, I hope.
Let's hope so. And I know you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'll reiterate it again. What advice would you give to people who want to start commentating?
I get that one quite regularly. I always, as far as the starting block is concerned, if you've never done commentary before, you're looking to kind of break into it. Now, when I did it, I had a lot of life experience. I'm considerably older than a lot of people involved in F1 Esports. I'm going to be 39 this year, so that is dinosaur age compared to most people, and I realize that. So I had a lot of life experiences behind me. The radio show, I've been in the customer service industry a long time, so I knew how to vocally present myself, to use my own phrase. So for the people that don't have that expertise, those that haven't found their style, found their voice, those that aren't used to the sound of their own voice, sounds like a strange phrase, but it's something you'll need to do. You need to get used to how you sound if you're going to improve. So where I say is start small. Don't go for the big stage too quick, because the general public will not care that you haven't done it before, and they will rip you apart. Prime example, I had a guy make a commentary application to AOR. Of course, as head commentator for AOR, I vet all those. And this guy he'd been only doing it a few months, but he was really good for someone that was very inexperienced. He was very young, however. Not that in itself should stop you, but just bearing in mind that your shoulders may not be as broad as you think they are. Real life can hurt. Real life can be a real confidence destroyer. And I'm sure you've had times when you've had the chat saying, this person's terrible, this crap. And when you're I think every commentator, I certainly have. I've had people say, "Oh, you're not this person. You're crap." Well, of course, I'm not this person. I'd be, shouted at if I were trying to be this person. I had someone have a go at me because I wasn't Jimmy Broadbent. You don't say. I have a lot more people shouting at me, saying, "Oh, he's trying to be Jimmy." I don't want to be Jimmy. I want to be me. I'd love to have all his followers, mind you, but. Anyway, start small. Reason being is you need to kind of find your style, find your voice, find what works for you, and you need to do it in. Again, try to find a way to phrase this properly. You need to kind of, if you aim for a stage that's too big too quickly, your confidence will be shot because people will turn around and say, "Oh, you're crap." Because the people don't, the audience won't care that you haven't done it before. They won't take into consideration that you're new to the scene. They'll just rip you apart, and your confidence will be wrecked. You could be really good. Again, coming back to the example I was mentioning, this guy was very good for someone so young and so inexperienced. Biggest problem with this guy is he had a really strong lisp. I was like, that is tragic. Of course, there's nothing you can help. But again, the public are going to rip him a new one. It was like, you're too young to handle that. It sounds very patronizing to say that, but someone of my experience, I've seen it happen. I've been there. I've aimed too high too soon, and it hurts and knocks you back. But you could be really good at what you're trying to do. But if you go about it the wrong way, you could just easily give up on it. If I'd aimed for, my first commentary, if I'd aimed for the F1 commentary, there's a bit of a different, AOL was very different 3 years ago. There wasn't the sponsorship behind it. But had it have been there and I'd gone straight for the top spot, I'd have been slated like hell, and I probably would have turned away as, oh, sod this. I'm obviously no good for it. And I then wouldn't have had the opportunities that I've gone through since doing it. So I absolutely believe start small. Find a league that doesn't have the pressure upon it to do well straight out of the box. That way you can, just find your style. Commentate on the AI. Stick the AI up to 110% and commentate on them. There's nothing wrong with that. Find a public lobby. You'll have a hell of a lot of chaos to deal with. But, commentate on anything just to... I mean, it's going to be a bit odd when you first try. You do feel like a bit of a brat when you're kind of screaming about a computer game. Granted. I certainly do. I was like, this just feels really weird. You soon but I realized very quickly I had a real passion for it. I came away from the first commentary knackered, but absolutely like, yes, this is what I was made for. This is what I wanted to do. But until you kind of get all of those necessary building blocks in place, you will find it very difficult to kind of progress because, the world will knock you back down again. So start small, build a foundation of this is how I do things. You will find a way forward when you've got confidence in your voice, confidence in your style. Confidence, big thing. Even if you haven't got it, if you can portray that if you can sound confident, that's a really big thing. If you're actually quivering like a jelly, and nerves hit us all. I still get nervous even now in certain instances. So it's all about overcoming that confidence. But if you've been knocked too quickly, that's really hard to do. So yeah, start small and do it your way. Don't copy somebody else. That's another big thing. It's hard to do when you're starting because you don't know what works for you. I knew what worked for me broadly because of the radio stuff. I had something real life based to help guide me in the right way. So if you haven't got that, you've got to find what works, and you'll find what works by doing it wrong. Again, another reason why to start small, because as soon as you make a mistake, you'll be very conscious of, oh my God, I did that wrong. My very first stream, I remember one of the biggest mistakes I made is I kept an eye on the viewer count. And I would get nervous when it would go down. Well, of course it would go down. No one ever sits in the stream. Well, not many people sit in the stream from beginning to end. People come and go. Mm. And I would get nervous and start to kind of trip over myself when I would see it drop. Worthless. No point doing that. Don't put more pressure on your own shoulders than need be. So start small and commentate on anything, online, offline, doesn't matter, until you find what works for you. And then practice it. Get fluid with it until you've got the confidence to. And then the instinct and the ability takes over more than okay, how did I do this? Right, okay, what do I need to say here? The less thinking, the more instinctive it becomes, the more natural it will sound, and again, the more it will progress.
And finally, Chris, where do you see yourself being in a few years' time? Do you still want to continue doing this?
Oh God, yes. Oh yes. Until such time as either I lose my voice or get fired and banned. I would do this. I would be in a real life commentary box, either esports or in the real world. I'd be in a commentary box anywhere in the blink of an eye. Absolutely, I would. This is when I did my very first commentary. When I left it, like I said earlier, utterly shattered because I'd not focused on something that intense. For the race wasn't even that long. It wasn't even an hour long. But because I'd never done it before, I wasn't kind of prepared for it. And it was just like hype almost constantly, which again I wasn't used to back then. I'm pretty used to it now. But back then I went to bed at like 8:30 that night because I was so tired, or 9:30 or something like that, because I was so knackered. But I just instantly knew I want to do this. This is what I'm going to focus on. My day-to-day job is to fuel this. And, I've gone pretty late in my life before finding that, I'll be honest. So, yeah, absolutely. I want to carry on doing this. And for as long as there's an opportunity for me to do it, I will continue to do it.
And I'm afraid that's all we have time for in episode 5. Chris, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you on, and I wish you all success for the future.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure to be interviewed by your good self. Thank you again.
So that has been episode 5 with King-Kodiak. I hope you've enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe on Spotify and on YouTube to keep up to date with all of these episodes. And we will see you next time out for episode 6. Thank you and goodbye.